Hey, it's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China. Welcome to another edition of Q&A with the Coach. Our next question comes from Davis Miller, who says, "Hi, Mr. Dewey. I have a question about the heavy bag. When I punch it, I get a headache afterward. Do you know what this might be caused by, or how to solve it? I would love your advice on this issue. Thank you, Davis." Davis, my friend. This could be indicative of a number of things. Have you experienced blunt force trauma to the head, for example? After sparring and fighting, and then going back to the heavy bag right away, in my own experience, after having the brain knocked around in the head, because your brain's floating around in liquid in there. And when you experience vibrations, that brain vibrates, shakes around in there. Now you said headaches. If those headaches come in combination with seeing white lights or something like that, maybe go see a doctor right away. If it feels like your brain is bouncing around inside your head, then it is. A lot of people have the ability to punch a lot harder than their body is able to sustain. That sounds kind of weird, I know. Because generally we think when we start out we can't punch that hard, and then we increase our power and all that, but some of us can produce a whole lot more power than our body is able to handle. So we can break ourselves, we can tear up our muscles, we can rip the tendons right off the joints, and we can rattle our brain around, hitting that bag really hard. You might want to check your form as well. Maybe, are you lunging forward when you're throwing your punches? Are you punching head first, if you will? Or are you using your footwork to move yourself in and out? Now, that's a confusing term for a lot of people, footwork. The F word right there, the F word of boxing and martial arts, footwork. A lot of people have no clue what that means, man. All footwork means, for anybody who does not know, is how you move your feet when you do any particular technique. So, for example, if you do a jab with a falling step, your footwork, push off the back leg, step forward on the lead leg. That's the footwork for a falling step jab. If you do a head-tail pivot, there's a little bit more complex footwork going on. You do a rock step and then you spin around. If you're doing a walking step pivot, different technique right there. If you're doing a check hook, different technique there, right? So the feet move in different places. Anyway, I'm kind of angry about experiences I've had in certain boxing gyms and kickboxing and Muay Thai gyms where people would talk about footwork, and then in retrospect I realized they had no clue what they were talking about. And I'll see this a lot in YouTube comments when people will always say, "Oh, your footwork's wrong," and they have no idea what footwork is. So, yeah, man, maybe take a video of yourself hitting the heavy bag and look at it and see, are you lunging headfirst with your punches? Because what could be happening, you may be throwing your brain forward against the front of your skull right there. And that's a dangerous habit to get into, not just for what's happening on the heavy bag, but would actually happen in a fight. You bring your head forward, boom, the other guy's going to hit it. And then we have a head-on collision, like a car crash of two cars colliding head-on. And that sucks because that amplifies the destructive force. Another thing you might want to check is your sleeping schedule. Check your sleeping schedule, because if you are sleep deprived, your brain is going to get into trouble when you start hitting something like a heavy bag, and those vibrations start coming up through the body and shaking your brain around. If you're sleeping well, that's something your body can handle. It's something your body will repair. You'll be fine. But if you're not, if you're sleep deprived and you do a lot of heavy bag work and you're punching really hard, yeah, that's going to give you a very similar result to getting punched in the head in a sparring session. Are you sparring? And how hard? Are you doing full contact sparring? Are you sparring at like 50%, 20%, some percentage of power like that, where power is going into your skull and rattling your brain around, and then you're getting on the heavy bag afterward, and it's hurting your brain, and your head hurts, because that's why. If you are hitting the bag with post-traumatic brain injury, that's why. So I got some questions about your question, my friend. So, to recap, check your sleep schedule, check your form, and regulate your sparring more intelligently. Don't go full out, don't go anywhere near it. Focus on technical sparring, light technical sparring, for the safety and the longevity of your brain. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.